101.1 FM. I don't know if you'd term this the calm before the storm or the period after it. We might just be between storms. But Tom Stutzman, the director of Indiana County's Emergency Management Agency, is on the telephone with us this morning. Good morning to you. Thanks for taking some time out to be with us today.
Sure. Good morning, Todd.
As the events unfolded last night, and it began to become apparent that the scope of this situation, is particularly west of Indiana here, was getting larger and larger and larger. What were some of the things that you were able to kick in and activate in order to be able to respond as you did as an emergency management agency?
The coordination of the volunteer fire service in the local area was tremendous last night. Indiana Fire Association, along with several of our other county departments, all came together and addressed some of the flooding issues that were occurring in private residences throughout the Indiana Borough and White Township. Creekside and Elberton fire departments were dealing with a completely different situation out on 422 with the flooding that occurred along the roadway out there and the traffic queue that had backed up due to that. We were trying to, and they were coordinating the effort of moving that traffic and trying to get it redirected out of that area so that we could get the road actually closed down. There were a lot of vehicles that were stuck in between areas where flooding had occurred, and the fire departments did a tremendous job in getting that traffic moved out and not getting anyone hurt.
Well, one of the things that we were hearing were that there were cars that were getting to the point where they were now being underwater out on 422, and there really was no place for them to go, and as the water continued to rise, that there was no way to get them there. Was that actually the case? Were there cars that were...
Yes, that was happening, and as the water continued to rise throughout that period, the people who were in that traffic queue could see that water coming up on their vehicles, and many of them were trying to find higher ground, and they were moving their vehicles to higher ground, which of course then was causing other traffic to move into those void spaces, and we ended up with quite a traffic queue backed up out there, and PennDOT was coordinating from the county office along with those fire department resources to try to get that traffic moved out and to make sure that we didn't have anyone injured.
We were also, as we saw on Channel 11 with their helicopter view, apprised of the railroad situation, some cars knocked off of the rails there, and they sort of looked like a toy construction set that was knocked around. Those weren't actually rail cars. Those were water tank trucks from a storage yard out there in the Shalata area that, because they were empty, were able to float. Oh, I see. But
from the air, they do look like rail cars, but those were water tanks from a storage yard from one of the drilling companies. So they just floated down until something stopped them, and they lined up just like a train.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that we were wondering about was, when you have situations like that, and you with the Emergency Management Agency, had there been tracks there, and those cars were not box cars, but would have been tanker cars filled with hazardous materials, I'm sure that ups your level of concern.
Certainly, yes. And we had several incidents last night that we had due to the flooding where people's residential storage of chemicals was causing issues that the fire departments were addressing. The hazmat team did go out last night to a private residence in Young Township to address a heating oil spill in a home down there, but that wasn't related to any of the flooding.
As this cleanup continues, I know that you are aware of the forecast for today, as much as 2 inches more of rain. With what we experienced last night and the damage that was done, well, let's put it this way. Give me an idea right now of what the situation is in terms of roads and other areas that need to be paid attention to, and how do you then prepare for what's coming for the rest of the day?
Well, fortunately, we had that period between last night's storm and this current weather event that has allowed some of the water to recede. So if we continue with just this steady rain, we shouldn't see very much of a flash flood threat. We're coordinating with the National Weather Service in Pittsburgh very closely to monitor any changes to what's occurring over the next several hours. And again, we're in a watch period until 2 a.m. So we're working with them to make sure that we can pay attention to any heavy downpours that could occur. I think we're going to be good for now. With this nice steady rain, we shouldn't see the flooding events that we saw last night.
Tom Stutzman on the telephone with us, the director of the Indiana County Emergency Management Agency. Tom, as the agencies responded last night, and as you said, as they're on the alert right now, and you look to the skies, I'm sure that resources get stretched at a time like this. And Jody Rainey was just here last hour, and expressing his admiration for the firefighters and their responses last night. All of the emergency responders last night, and I know that you anticipate again today. These are folks that are really standing out, aren't they?
Oh, yes, tremendously. These folks giving up their personal time to go out and do what they do. We had a lot of volunteers out working last night. And, the majority of them were volunteer firemen, but we also had a lot of people from the Red Cross who were out doing damage assessment. They just went back out again this morning to interface with local residents to make sure that we're getting, everybody addressed that we can. We're working with townships and their staff and the township supervisors to do damage assessment and follow up with them. PennDOT currently has crews out there doing bridge inspections to make sure we can get some of these roads reopened. Because in some cases these road closures are just because we want to make sure the bridge is safe before we let traffic through again.
Yeah, okay, and I know you probably need to get to whatever that phone call was about there a moment ago. But when we get through all of this, I'm sure that you're going to review exactly what happened last night, what the response was like, and that's all part of the process of making sure everybody's safe, correct?
That's correct, and see what we can address to make it better.
Terrific. Thank you so much for taking time out of a very busy morning to spend with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.